Friends, there are many people in the world who do not realize what is really happening in Ukraine. Therefore, I will try to translate my reviews into English, and I will ask you to distribute this video to convey the truth to the whole world. Let's start. The events of the past week confirmed the deteriorations of the position of the Ukrainian armed forces in all directions. And the situation for the Ukrainian army is becoming more complicated. There is no progress in the Kherson direction, but on the islands of the Dnieper Delta, Russian troops are striking in the position of the Ukrainian army. On the Zaporizhia front, positional battles continue. There, Russian troops are taking Novodarovka, which is located at the junction with the Ugledar front, and have advanced 700 meters from Levadne. And here it should be noted that if on the map positional battles do not show changes, that in the real life everything looks different. In these shots, you see the Orekhov directions of the Zaporizhia front. You see it on a diagram from a satellite and now in the real life. That is, in fact, every meter of land is under fire, and in positional battles, people are ground to pieces no less than during an offensive. Therefore, Ukrainian cemeteries can no longer accommodate the dead. In the Ugledar direction, the Russian army has advanced 4.5 kilometers in the northwestern section toward Novoukrainka. And near Novoukrainka in the Elizavetovka area, Russian troops continue to actively storm Ukrainian position and block logistics routes. As a result, the Ukrainian side is forced to slow down the rotation. Now, let's move on in the Kurakhovsky section. Russian troops approach the city from the northeast, from the direction of Georgievka and Maximilianovka. So, there are about 7 kilometers left to the southern outskirts of Kurakhova. And now the Ukrainian side fears that Kurakhova will be bypassed from the north, bypassing the reservoir. The fact is that the engineering structures that were allegedly built turned out to be a fiction. The money was taken, as always, and the dragon's teeth were dumped in heaps, and now these mountains of concrete lie and demonstrate the Ukrainian corruption. So those 17 billion hryvnias that were allocated for the defense of Donbass will not help the armed force of Ukraine much. And this affected not only Pokrovsk and Selidova, but also Kurakhova. And as for the Ukrainian military, they are already openly demonstrating shelters that are being built for them.
Хочете, покажу вам укриття? Ось воно. Охуєнчик, да? О!
Now, regarding the Gornyak-Kurakhova direction, the situation there is not the best right now, and both settlements are surrounded by the Russian army from both sides. In this area, the Russian side is actively using aviation and erasing Ukrainian fortification with KBs and drones. I don't know how much longer Ukrainian military will be able to hold out on that bridgehead, but something tells me that the outcome is just around the corner. Because at the moment, Gornyak is already 30% out of control of the Ukrainian armed forces. And after the actual loss of Zorine, the situation in Kurakhovka has sharply worsened. The fact is that in the Zorine area, Russian troops carried out a successful attack. They crossed the river and actually come to the rear of Gornyak from the south. Well, since Kurakhovka is nearby, this posed a threat to Kurakhovka. Also on the Pokrovsky front, Russian forces continue to encircle Selidova and attack from both the northern and southern flanks. It is reported that the Ukrainian Armed Forces group in Selidova holds position at 5 or 6 strongholds in the multi-story buildings, which is being heavily shelled by Russian artillery. That is, in the Selidova area, Russian troops have sharply increased the pressure, having achieved small successes in advancing toward the city, especially south of the road. And the pincers of encirclement continue to tighten, creating a real threat to Ukrainian positions. Well, the capture of Maximilianovka can significantly change the tactical situation in the Kurakhova-Pokrovsk direction. And you can see this sediment now. However, It should be noted that the Ukrainian command continued to throw Ukrainian soldiers into senseless attacks. And already, in the following frames, you see Novogrodovka located closer to Pokrovsk, and how the soldiers of the armed force of Ukraine are being destroyed behind Novogrodovka. And I would like to quote Ukrainian Deputy Dubinsky. I wonder if anyone can explain to me why this war is continuing now. If today it is clear to everyone that Ukraine will side with Russia along the front line. Is Ukraine moving the front line now? No. Is it creating a strategic advantage in any way? No. It is improving the situation in the future negotiations? No. And do you know what Kiev is doing? Kiev is stalling for time in the interest of 5 to 6 managers who can get enough of stealing and don't want to give up power. By the way, the invasion of the Kursk region is also difficult to explain, especially since in the Kursk region the Ukrainian Armed Forces Group found itself under crossfire from Russian artillery from 3 sides. You see that the Russian territory occupied by the Ukrainian Armed Forces has been reduced by about a third. And now, no matter which side the Russian army starts shelling Ukrainian positions, it flies to the entire depth. So the Ukrainian troops are actually under crossfire, and this significantly worsened the Ukrainian position. But despite everything, Zelensky continued to send people to Russian territory, and this footage shows how the Ukrainian armed forces are trying to cross the state border in the Kursk direction. So, as for this operation that you see, out of 8 people, 5 were killed and 3 returned. And was it worth sending people to their deaths? Of course not. On this I say goodbye to you until the next episode. Take care of yourself. Bye everyone.